Okay, as we had just reported, unemployment numbers rising to 9.8%. That is a 26-year high. And non-farm payrolls shedding 263,000 jobs. That is much, much worse than expected. Joining me now for Bloomberg Best is Christopher Lowe, the chief economist at FTN Financial. And Bloomberg crunched the numbers, and he is in our elite group of top labor forecasters. But this even exceeded your expectations. What does this tell you about the job? What does this tell you, first of all, about the trajectory here? I mean, we have seen fewer and fewer job losses, but what does this tell you now? Are we at the brink of something?
I think the trend remains intact, but it's really disappointing. And when you look at the breakdown of the numbers, too, manufacturing jobs fell exactly as expected. The weakness here is on the service side. We've seen that in the ISM indices the last several months. Manufacturing recovering nicely. Non-manufacturing is stuck under 50. This is a real problem, and I do think what we're seeing is the lack of small business job creation that typically marks the beginning of an economic recovery.
Right, it marks the beginning of hiring. That is what you need, right, Chris?
Correct, absolutely.
And the fact of the matter is that we have seen a stimulus plan. We've seen a number of government programs. Being given this number, does this tell you that we need more government help?
Yeah, well, look, I certainly don't think we can afford to withdraw the stimulus. Without it, we'd probably be looking at even uglier numbers. It certainly tells you that it would be a mistake for the Fed to stop supporting credit as well. I think we've got to see more, partly because the only credit creation we have in the economy right now is federal government borrowing.
Yeah. Well, then, given that, then, Chris, and what you just said earlier, that we need to have small businesses start to participate in the labor market, how is that going to happen? Historically, what does the government need to do to get that going in order to get hiring going again here?
Well, I think that's a really tough question. Right now, the vast majority of stimulus dollars has gone into states basically funding spending that was already supposed to happen, teachers' salaries, keeping the regular sort of state operating budget going. And that is essential. If that had not happened, there would be job losses there. The rest of it's going into heavy construction, mostly highway spending, but there's not a whole lot of that yet. I'm not sure how you get it down to the small business level, but I think there has to be maybe a little more creativity in allocating the funds. And certainly one of the things I've been frustrated with, the spending is not happening nearly as fast as it was supposed to.
Chris, given this number, then, and the broader basis on the economy, does this erase or diminish the prospects of a V-shaped recovery here in the United States?
No, I don't think so. I think, in fact, what we're seeing in a lot of the September data is the simple fact that cash for clunkers boosted the economy in August. And it wasn't just car sales, right? It was orders. It was also employment, and it was industrial production. And in September, we're going to give it all back. Look, maybe one of the things they ought to be talking about, if they really are concerned in Washington with getting the economy going, is rather than trying to figure out who to spend the money on and how to spend the money, maybe they should just give it to consumers and let consumers make that choice.
Hey, you know, that's an easy concept, and although I'm sure more complicated to execute. But thank you, Chris, for joining us. That was Chris Lowe, chief economist at FTN.